Hi, today we're gonna build this nice looking responsive website using HTML and CSS. Before we start coding, let's quickly review the design. So we have a simple text logo on the left side, and on the right side we have this nice looking navigation that has a cool animation when you hover over the links. Then we have a header and a paragraph, and on the right side we have this nice looking picture with this beautiful lady. And also if you put your mouse over the image, you will get this little rotate animation. You will learn how to create this wavy background that looks really nice and unique. And on the right side, you can see that we have these social media icons, which also have rotate animation. At the bottom of the page, we have this animated pointer, which should tell the user that there's more content down. But in this tutorial, I will only design this simple page because I don't want the video to be too long. And now if I try to resize the website, you will see that the design is completely responsive and it will look good on both large and small screens. As I decrease the width of the page, the design changes, the text gets smaller, and also on specific width, the navigation design changes. And if I reduce the width even more, you can see that the social media icons go at the bottom of the page. I'm pretty excited about this tutorial, and I will do my best to explain to you guys how easy it is to actually design something like this using HTML and CSS. I genuinely believe that you will learn a lot from this tutorial, so make sure to stick till the end to get the most value, and I strongly encourage you to get a pen and paper to take notes, because you will remember a lot more if you do that. The only thing I ask from you is that you subscribe to the channel and also like the video. That will help me a lot. And let's get started. These are the starting files for our page. I've created one HTML file and one CSS file, and also added some images. Pause the video and click on the first link in the description to download these files before you continue. Alright, hopefully you've downloaded the files and opened your favorite text editor. I'm gonna be using VS Code in this tutorial. So in index.html, you can see that I've added the basic HTML tags, head and body, and inside the head tag, I've added the title, meta tag to set the character encoding to UTF-8, another meta tag with name viewport, and content width equals device minus width, initial scale equals 1. This meta tag gives the browser instructions on how to control the page's dimension and scaling. If you want your page to look good on any device, it is important to add this meta tag inside your head tag. You can always find it on Google, so you don't have to remember it. After that, I've linked this custom CSS file, which is empty for now, and the next two links are for a Remo Google font, and the last one is for Font Awesome icons. In the images folder, you will find this cute girl on a transparent background and a screenshot of the page. The first thing that we're gonna do is create the logo and navigation. Let's get back to the index.html file, and I will create a div tag with class nav and container. Inside this div, I will create another div with class float left. Inside, create a span tag with class nav link and logo. And inside this span tag, create another span tag with class purple. Add programmer inside the span tag and nodes outside the span tag like this. Under the float left div, I will create another div with class float right. And in this div, I will create 4 links with class nav link. The first one will be home. The second, products. The third, stories. And the last one will be contact. Just add active class in the first link, and that's all for the HTML for our navigation. And let me just open our page. Okay, cool. This is how our page looks like for now. Let's go to the CSS file and add the styling for our navigation. First of all, I'm gonna remove the margin on our page and add font Remo and fallback sans serif. change the background to F9, 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 and add border top 4 pixels solid with color 7C8 to D3. Now I'm gonna change the style of our nav class, change the font size to 24 pixels, change the font weight to bold, and add user select none, which basically means that the user won't be able to select the text. Set z index to 3. This specifies the stack order of an element. So for example, if two elements overlap, the element with greater stack order will always be in front of the element with a lower stack order. Let's edit the container class, add margin 0 for top and bottom and auto for left and right, which will center the elements. Add max width of 1400 pixels and width of 90%. Add a float left to the float left class. And float right to the float right class, which will basically float the elements left and right, like this. Let's change the style of the navlink class now. Set the position to relative and color to 757474. Display inline block. And margin 14 pixels for top and bottom and 16 pixels for left and right. Set the text decoration to none to remove the underline. And now I will create the cool navigation animation. Use the after selector, which basically inserts something after the content of the selected element. Set the content to an empty string. Position to absolute. And width to 100%. Set the transform scale X to 0. Height to 2 pixels and bottom to -2 pixels. Left to 0 and background color to 7C82T3. Transform origin to bottom right and add a transition effect to the transform property with a duration of 0.25 seconds with ease out transition timing. Okay, now we only need to change the transform scale X to 1 on hover and set the transform origin to bottom left. And something is wrong. I forgot to add an S after the transition duration. And there we go. We now have this cool animated effect on hover. Let's also change the color to 282828 for our nav link class. I will also add this color on the logo. And set the font size to 28 pixels. Change the cursor to pointer. And since I don't want the animated effect on our logo, I will set the transform scale X to 0 like this. I will also add an important property to override all styling rules for this specific transform property. Change the color of the purple class to 7C82T3. And add border bottom and color black to our active class like this. Okay, so we are finished with the navigation for now. Let's add the wavy background. For the wavy background, go to this site, gateways.io. I will also add the link in the description. Generate wave graphics like this. I will just change the color to D5, D8, ED. And now click on this icon and copy this code. Paste it 2 times in our index.html file. And add an CVG top class to the first one and CVG bottom class to the second one. Let's edit these CSS classes. Add position absolute to both CVG top and CVG bottom class. And set the Z index to 1 and left to 0. Let's now position these waves to the middle. First, let's center the CVG top. Set the top to 50% and margin top to minus 21%. And for the bottom CVG, set the top property to 50% and transform rotate 180 degrees, which will basically flip vertically the bottom CVG like this. And there we go. We now have these cool wavy backgrounds. Next, let's create the main content. On the left side, we will add this text, and on the right side, we will add this picture with circular background. So let's get back to the index.html file. I will create a div with class container and main. Inside the div tag, I will add another div with class column. And inside this div, I will add an h1 tag with text my name is, and add a span tag with class purple and name with text Clara. After the h1 tag, add a paragraph tag with random text. And let's add one more column for the image. Add a div with class circle and image with source images/woman.png and class woman image. Let's edit the style of the content. Go to the style.css file. First, I will edit the main class. Set the height to 80 VH. Display flags. Clear both. Align item center to vertically center the content. And position to relative with Z index 2. Set the width of the column class to 50%. Add border bottom 2 pixels dotted with color 7C82D3 to the name class. And set the font size to 70 pixels. Let's change the color of the h1 tag and p tag to 757474. Set the font size of the h1 tag to 60 pixels and set the font size of the paragraph tag to 22 pixels. Now it's time to edit the style of our woman image class. As you can see, she is insanely big. Let's make her smaller. Set the width to 100%. And there you go, she's not a giant anymore. Set the bottom border radius to 50% both for right and left, so she can fit in the circle. And set the margin top to -7%. Let's create the circle background. Edit the circle class, set the width to 80%. Height to 0 and padding bottom to 80%. Margin 0 top and bottom and auto for left and right. Border radius 100%, and for the background we will have a linear gradient to the right with colors 94A3EP and 655BB9. Let's also add box shadow with -40 pixels, 55 pixels, 43 pixels, and -43 pixels with RGBA 148 for red, green, and blue, and one for the alpha. Now let's add the rotate animation. Set the transition to transform 0.4 seconds is in out. And on hover add transform rotate -4 degrees. And when I hover over the image, you can see that the image rotates a little bit to the left. Okay, cool. Now we will add these social media icons. So let's get back to the index.html file. Add an unordered list tag with class social links, and inside the UL tag add list tag and icon tag with class FA Facebook square and rotate animation. Copy the list 2 more times. And change the Facebook class to FA Instagram. And for the last one to FA Twitter. We can see the icons now on our page. Let's edit them. Edit the social links class. Set the position to fixed. Z index to 10, top to 50%, margin top to minus 110 pixels, right to 30 pixels, and list style type to none to remove the ugly dots before the icons. Font size to 33 pixels and cursor pointer. Cool. Let's add margin to the list now. Edit the social links list. Set the margin to 20 pixels top and bottom and 0 for left and right. Now I will add the rotate animation. So add transition transform 0.4 seconds is in out to our rotate animation class. And on hover, set the transform to rotate 360 degrees. Let's test it out. And cool, the icons rotate when we put the mouse over them. Let's change the color of each icon now. For the Facebook icon, I will use 3B5998. For Instagram, BC2A8D. And for Twitter, 00ACEE. The last thing that we need to add is this bottom triangle. So let's get back to the index.html file. Add a div tag with class font large, and inside this div tag add icon with class fa sort desk and triangle. And we are officially done with the HTML for our page. Good for us. The only things left to do now are edit the triangle and make the page responsive. So let's do that. Go back to the style.css file. Let's edit the font large class and set the font size to 130 pixels. Let's also edit the triangle class, set the color to 94A3EB. Left to 50%. Position to absolute. And margin left to minus 40 pixels. Bottom to 30 pixels. And let's add animation move up down with 1.5 second duration. Is in out, and we want the animation to be infinite. Let's set the keyframes for our animation. We need to specify when the style change should happen in percent. So when the animation starts 0% and when the animation ends 100%, we want the bottom value to be 30 pixels. And when the animation is at 50%, we want the bottom value to be 40 pixels. And this will create this nice looking up and down animation. Up, down, up, down, up, down, and so on. Alright guys, so let's finally work on the responsiveness of our page. For this we use media queries that basically can apply CSS style only to a specific width. For example, this code will add style when our page is less or equal to 1160 pixels in width. Let me just change the width of the screen. I will set the background to red just so you can understand better what's going on here. As you can see, when the width of our page is less or equal to 1160 pixels, the background changes to red. And when the width is more than 1160 pixels, the background sets back to the default color, which is F9, F9, F9. This means that whatever style we put inside the media query, it will only be applied when the width of our page is less or equal to 1160 pixels. Let's change the size of the H1 tag, set the font size to 40 pixels. Let's also change the size of the name class, set the font size to 50 pixels. Change the paragraph size to 20 pixels. And let's copy this line and add another media query with max width of 880 pixels. And you get the idea. Whatever style we put in this media query will be applied only when the width of our page is less or equal to 880 pixels. Let's edit the main class, set the width to 100%. Display to block. Change the column class. Set text align to center. Width to 85%. And margin 50 pixels for top and bottom and auto for left and right. Let's edit the social media icons now. Set the right property to 10 pixels. Hide the triangle class, set the visibility to hidden. And we also want to edit our navigation. Let's change the style of our float right and float left classes. Set the float to none. And text align to center. And there we go. Our page started to look good on smaller screens. Let's add another media query with a max width of 525 pixels. Now I will edit the float right class and nothing class. Set the font size to 18 pixels. Margin 14 pixels for top and bottom and 4 pixels for left and right. Edit the social media icons, display block and text align center. Position relative and margin top 0. Edit the social links list. Display inline block and font size 25 pixels with margin 50 pixels top, 20 pixels right, 0 pixels bottom and 20 pixels left. And edit the social links list icon. Change the color to 757474. and we get this design. Cool. Let's add one more media query. Set the max width to 400 pixels and let's change the font size of our H1 tag to 30 pixels and the font size to 40 pixels of our name class. Let's change the navigation. Font size to 14 pixels and margin 14 pixels for top and bottom and 3 pixels for left and right. And there you go, guys. We've created our responsive web page. This is how the page will look on mobile devices, and this is how it will look on tablets. Now, as homework, you can create the rest of the pages, product stories and contact. They don't have to look super awesome, just make sure that they are responsive. It's really important that you practice on your own what you learn. Maybe you will struggle a little bit, but you will learn a lot like that. Hope you guys enjoyed the video and learned a thing or two about HTML, CSS. And if you haven't subscribed already, make sure to subscribe and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.